Welcome to @MarketingKitchen TV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchen TV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome, marketing chefs. I've got something truly special cooking in our Omni-Channel oven today. Chapter 5 of 6. Up next in the Marketing Kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, the Marketing Kitchen. Hi, I'm Ron Vining, your host of Marketing Kitchen TV. Welcome to @MarketingKitchen TV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchen TV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome back to Chapter 5 of 6 for our Fall 2020 session. Thank you for returning to join us for Chapter 5 of 6 at @MarketingKitchen TV, hashtag Q&A, and this is one of our live sessions. It's where I'm taking your questions in this fall segment. I'm very excited that this time around I had asked everyone to go through the thread and curate what they thought were the number 1, 2, 3, 4, their top question for me to answer. And so far, I've taken 4 questions over 4 videos, so I've answered 16 so far. I went through, so I did a search at the @RonaldVining with the curated hashtag I asked for, which was hashtag MKTQ, and I realized that if I were to do just 2 more videos, so Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 like I talked about, and took 4 questions in each of those, that actually I would still have about 18 more questions to go. So I'm going to see how this video goes and how Chapter 6 goes, but I might do some lightning round videos. So maybe 2 more, so maybe it'll end up being an 8-part series. So I'll keep you posted on that when we get to Chapter 6. Just letting you know that I did a preview just to see how many questions were there, and tried to, there's a number of duplicates as well. So, and I've answered a number of them already. But anyway, just letting you know that up front, that I'm thinking that we might extend this. You might get lucky. Yeah. We might end up going to 8 chapters for this segment. But those will be bonus. So 7 and 8 would be bonus if we end up doing that. All right, picking up where we left off, taking a look at Vicky's curated question here. And she says, I'm interested in environmental issues and the impact on business. So I chose this question. Sorry for the late response. Well, that's okay. Well, because this is a couple of months later anyway. Society is beginning to expect sustainability. Let's see. Let me click on this here. Society is beginning to expect sustainability from companies as climate change continues to be such a polarizing issue. Will supply chain shift to satisfy what's the word there? Oh, public opinion, or will legislation need to be put in place for change to happen? Okay, sorry, let me reread that one. Sorry, the hashtag words in blue, I just can't see them as easily on the screen. So society is beginning to expect sustainability from companies as climate change continues to be such a polarizing issue. Will supply chain shift to satisfy public opinion, or will legislation need to be put in place for change to happen? Okay, as I've mentioned, I usually present a range of ideas or opinions that a number of you might not be used to hearing. So this will be no different. And I just want to say that climate change certainly is real, right? So there's no denying the fact that climate change is real. The real question is, and I'm only bringing this up because you mentioned that it's a polarizing issue. Well, what's polarizing about the issue, there's 2 pieces, for me anyway, that I see as being polarizing. So A, climate change is real. But 1 and 2, I guess, so number 1, climate change is real. But the A and B caveats to that are this. Is climate change man-made? Or is it just a cycle of the environment of the planet Earth? If geology tells us anything, and so we're looking at the science, right? Everyone always talks about, let's go back to the science. Well, if we do the science and we look at the geology, we have had climate shifts throughout the history of this planet, even long before man was walking on this planet. Oops, sorry, mankind, the human race, sorry. Don't want to get into that gender-specific pronoun issue. So that would be A, all right? So we don't know. We really don't know from a scientific level whether climate change is caused by man or woman or the human race or technology, or whether it is something that is cyclical, right? So it's just a part of nature. And B would be the fact of the other polarizing issue I see when it comes to sustainability. And we think about things like the climate accord that the Trump administration pulled out of, that Biden says that he will immediately put us back in. The controversial aspect of that, as I mentioned in a prior video, is the fact that America should not hamstring itself in competition with other countries. So it is completely unfair for American taxpayers, American citizens, American businesses to enter into climate accords or climate agreements or treaties, whatever you want to call them, whereby they are being put at a disadvantage against their competitors on the planet that refuse to be a part of those treaties as well too, or those that sign them, but by then signing them, they don't actually abide by them. And so I mentioned before China being one of them. So, but honestly, and as you all know, I live in Southeast Asia, and there's some of the worst pollution that I've ever experienced in my lifetime has been in Asia. So try going into China, especially when the smog is especially thick, and you don't see that in any U.S. city. And I've experienced similar when I've been in India as well. So when we talk about sustainability and we talk about the environment, I think those are the A and B is something that we really got to look at. And so yes, I think that we all should do our part, and why wouldn't we want to help the environment? I love nature, so I'm big on going on nature hikes, whether it be forest or jungle. I'm all for clean air, clean water. I'm all for making sure that we don't pollute the environment. But what I'm not in favor of, and you shouldn't be either too, is we shouldn't want to hamstring American businesses against the competition, because that is just bad for business. That's bad for you, that's bad for your family, that's bad for your town, that's bad for your city, for your state, for your country. And so it's very important that we look at that. All right, so you talk about, will legislation be needed to put in place to make the change happen? Well, but there's already legislation on the books. And so Rachel, I encourage you actually to check it out for yourself to see that America is already subscribing to some of the most stringent regulations on the planet when it comes to sustainability in the environment. And it's really incumbent upon other countries. So if American companies are doing business in these foreign nations, maybe one of the reasons that they're doing business, and when I say business, I mean manufacturing and production, or stripping of raw materials, they're doing that because there are no regulations in those countries. All right, so maybe, if you want to do if you want to do legislation, then the legislation should then tell those American companies that it's not okay to preach environmentalism in America, but then take advantage of lax regulations in other countries. All right, so I hate hypocrisy. So this is a lot of the questions that I've gotten through these sessions have been more socioeconomic, political based than I've faced before by taking questions in this forum. And I just really need to call it out. I need to call out the hypocrisy that's there. And not by you, Rachel, but by what's going on in our society. All right, so specifically to answer that question there. So society is beginning to expect sustainability from companies. Okay, great, they should. So let's expect that when Apple's CEO Tim Cook says that our products are 100% this or that, well then let's be a little bit more, give them a bit more scrutiny when it comes to the fact of their dealings in China, or now they're shifting a lot of production to India or to Brazil, right? So are they going to abide by those same US regulations in those countries? That's the question that we should be asking. So America does not need, in my opinion, to be creating any more legislation or restrictions on American companies. It needs to be asking foreign countries to do their part, to do the same thing that we've been doing for many, many years now. But we should not be put at a further disadvantage than we already are, because the competition is real and it's really unfair. So if you want to make it fair, though, then you tell a U.S. company that they need to keep the jobs back in the, bring them back to the United States, keep them in the United States, and do their manufacturing here. Or if they're going to do business overseas, then they need to abide by the same laws that were put in place here. That's how I see it, anyhow. That's my opinion. The issue is that when you talk about to satisfy public opinion, well then we need to tell the truth. And the truth is that America is a clean nation in comparison with the other nations on the planet. And the other nations need to step up before America should step up anymore. So again, I'm trying to avoid politicalness in these, but so many questions this semester have really been focused on that, and I understand why. It's just I guess more than ever, business and politics and society, where they're just really beginning to mesh to the point where I'm trying to stay away from the political aspect of all of this, but it's kind of impossible to do so. But I think we as citizens, or we as activists, before we break out the megaphone and start protesting or asking or demanding that things be changed, we need to actually look at the facts. And the facts are that, yes, climate change is real. It's undecided scientifically whether or not mankind, humankind, womankind is responsible for that, and whether or not it's America that is the one who's contributing to climate change, if it is man or womankind based. And if it's not America, then how do we get the other countries to do their part? And we are, but they're not. That's my take. What do you think, Rachel? I look forward to reading what you have to say in the comments. And for everybody else who's tuning in as well, too. So, all right, that's a great one. And thanks for curating that, Vicky. All right, Emily. So we've answered so many of your questions, and I see that it's great that you have curated one as well. So, and you've asked some great questions, Emily, so I'm certain that you've curated a good one, too. All right, nice question. There is so much fake news floating around the internet that is hard to know what is real or fake. Yes, that is true. So let's take a look at the question that you curated here. And I think I've answered this one already. The government took strong actions to punish those who spread fake news during the pandemic. However, how should readers be selective when inaccurate information continues to be released every day on social media? Okay, well actually, yeah, so I thought I answered this one, because actually how I tell is, right, I look here to see about whether there was retweets or not, so I see that there wasn't a reply. So yeah, I didn't answer that one yet, so that's great. I answered similar to that. And hey, remember, everybody should, one of the first rules, you notice there's no avatar right here. One of the first rules of social media is to be social. If you read my blog on LinkedIn that talked about social growth through value-added content, I talk about one of the key aspects of being successful on social media is to be social. And part of the way of being social is to make sure that you have an avatar, that you have wallpaper, and that you have a bio. Now, if you want to remain semi-anonymous or fully anonymous online, then obviously you don't use your face. But you should have something there, even if it's a flower, whatever it might be, or a dog, or a cat, or a car, whatever it might, or anything. But can't be this, because that's something that in most cases people wouldn't retweet. They might even not even read it, or they might even dismiss it as spam. So I did say I was going to call anybody out who hadn't yet had an avatar, and this is the case right here. So please make sure that you do that. Clock is ticking. All right, so the government took strong actions to punish those who spread fake news during the pandemic. However, how should readers be selective when inaccurate information continues to be released every day on social media? Well, all right, so my question is that how do you know that the information is inaccurate, right? And and when you say the government took strong actions to punish those who spread fake news, who's to say that the government's accurate? And so I'm going to be honest with you here too, and here again it becomes another political question, and I'm trying to not be political. But when the World Health Organization states that masks are only, all right, so let's go through this. Let's go back starting in January. And actually, if you Googled in January, you got different search results than you get today because Google's blocked a lot of the data that's there. But go back to January, February, and March. The World Health, in June. In fact, in Veterans Day, on Memorial Day, I have a video up on YouTube where I actually talk about the fact that masks are completely bogus and ineffective. And I base that on science. And so why do I do that? And how can I claim this? Well, because the World Health Organization even backed me up on that. And so the question is that how do we know what's fake and what's real when something like the World Health Organization, number one, first said that C19 wasn't going to be a problem, and then I guess it's become a problem, yeah. The World Health Organization said that only surgeons need masks. Then they later said, we only said that surgeons need the mask, or all medical personnel. We should save masks for medical personnel. But then they told us that the only reason they did that is they didn't want the mask to run out for medical personnel. So wait, we were supposed to be wearing them back then, or we were supposed to be wearing them now? But why did you say that they were important, but then they weren't, and then they are, and then they're not? And then guess what? Our own CDC had said, sometimes it's okay to wear them, sometimes it's not. And then Fauci, right? So Saint Fauci, it's the gospel, right? Whenever he speaks, we're supposed to listen. Well, this is the same man, by the way, that in February and March said that it was okay to go to Chinatown. It was okay to not wear a mask. It was okay to gather in crowds and indoors. Fauci even said, when asked a question about, well, what about people's relationship health? What if they were to meet somebody on Tinder? Should they meet a stranger, to get together? And Dr. Fauci said, well, yeah, that's good for people. What? So wait a second. I can't have 6 of my family members get together for Thanksgiving, but I can meet a stranger on Tinder and hook up with them? Wait, so yeah. So when you ask the question there about what should happen in terms of censoring whether news is fake or whether it's real, tell me the source that's real. Show me the science. This is another thing that I keep hammering on, not just here, but whenever I'm talking to people. The people who say to you, follow the science, are the people that don't use the science. Let's be honest about it. Let's be honest about the statistics at the moment. Right now, there's a 99.7% survivability rate if one were to contract C19. Is that a pandemic to you? Did you know that the FDA has approved therapeutics that not only treat but cure the disease? The virus, sorry. Are you aware that I forgot the stat now. There's one stat that states that more than 60% of the people who have died due to, are you ready? Not exactly C19, but a comorbidity. And a further discussion in there says that those individuals would have died anyway that same year, or this same year, because we're talking about during this time frame. Or why don't we look at the flu numbers in comparison to this and see how many people die normally from the flu versus how many people have been stated as having died from this. I encourage you to take the time to do a full-on Google search and look for yourself. This is assuming that you can find the information that's there. And I'm actually afraid you asked that question, I'm answering it here, this video could get blocked. So if that's the case, then I'll have to edit this out and then repackage and put the video up, and that would be a real shame. And why is that a shame? That's a shame because companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter are blocking contrary information to groupthink. We have reached a point in time when groupthink is what is driving the discussion here. So science is about having competing ideas tested against each other to see in other words, you got to prove it. In science, we prove things. And I remember going back to biology and chemistry. Remember, you had to prove something? Well, no one has proven, to me anyway, and I think if you actually do some reading, there's no proof to when somebody says we need to have a public policy based on science, because our public policy is not based on science. When you say that you can go to a casino, but you can't go to a church. When you say that you can go to and wait in line 2 hours to go to the grocery store, but you can't go and wait 2 lines to vote, there's something systemically wrong with all of this. And so I encourage you to investigate for yourself. Don't take my opinion. This is my opinion. You go and you do the research and you find out for yourself what the truth is. And that's the only way you can find out the truth today. So I read a number of articles that support my positions. I read a number of articles that disagree with my positions. And then I take my own experience and then I determine whether I want to believe something to be true or whether to be false. And for myself, anyhow, I spent a lot of years in government and I don't trust government. I don't trust government to get just about anything right. And if anything, I have seen, and here, let me just bring up a final point here. Our own Surgeon General has said that masks are unnecessary. But he doesn't, he's a doctor, he's a medical doctor, he's the chief medical doctor of the country. Why is he not being listened to, but Anthony Fauci is? That's bizarre to me. Or how about Ron Klein? Do you know who Ron Klein is? Ron Klein worked in the Obama and Biden administration, and Biden said that he's going to appoint him to his task force to look at the pandemic. Well, did you know that Ron Klein said that the Obama and Biden administration totally messed up everything related to SARS? He said this a year ago at a conference. And he said that they were ill-equipped to take care of that. So what, they're equipped to take care of it today? This should not be a left or right issue. This should not be a Democrat or Republican issue. This should actually really be a scientific issue. It should be a socio-economic issue. We should never, ever, ever allow the cure to be worse than the disease. And unfortunately, masks, restrictions, lockdowns, what have they done? They have eroded just about every single aspect of what we have considered to be a free capitalist society. And I got to tell you, when there's deferred medical care for things like your heart or for cancer or for your vision or your liver or whatever it might be, getting dialysis, etc., then if those individuals or die as a result of that, then was it worth it? If every business in your town shuts down and all of those people are out of work and turn to drugs or alcohol, because it's great that, wow, states sell marijuana and they sell alcohol. Well, that's great, but you can't go to church anymore. You can't go to an AA group anymore. And you can't tell me that doing it on Zoom is the same thing as being in person. It's not. You ever watch a concert on your iPad as opposed to go to a concert? Is there a difference? I love concerts. Sure, I've watched them on my iPad, but I'd prefer to actually be in a stadium and see it. An AA group, going to church, same experience. I'm not going to get the same thing on Zoom as I would if I were physically there. So these are things that we have to look at, and sadly, this has become a political issue. And I'm going to back out of this one as fast as I can because I want to avoid as many political issues as possible. All right, let's see. And Emily has another great question. And since you ask great questions yourself, let's see which more great questions that you curate. So let's see. Is it important to be unique and stand out to your consumers? What actions can companies take to stand out among their competitors? Okay, let's see the question here. And social media has had a large impact on digital advertising and consumer relations. That's very true. With many companies turning to these platforms for their advertising, how will companies stand out among their competitors on these sites? With many companies turning to these platforms, I'm assuming you mean social media, for their advertising, how will companies stand out among their competitors on those sites? All right, yeah, hey, great question, Alice. I've talked about this a lot. So the thing is, I'm sorry about the loud. Amazing. When I'm on stage speaking, somehow I can filter myself out from not having those noises, making noise during pauses. I can't do it when I'm recording in my home, and I just did it again now. Amazing. The difference again of whether being on Zoom or whether being in person, I guess it affects that. So yeah, social has had a large impact on advertising and on consumer relations. I can tell you that customer service is companies do it right. So if companies do customer service right, excuse me for the slurp there, then social is awesome. When companies do it wrong, it's miserable. So I'm not going to name names of them. Well, actually I could name names right now, because let's take Whirlpool. Whirlpool I'm in a fight with at the moment because my range over here, my hub, no longer works. And to replace it, to buy a brand new hub, by the way, so this is my range, this is my 4-top digital range. To buy a new one would cost me in Singapore, which is overpriced, always, just about everything here is overpriced, it would be $1,800. To have it repaired is going to be about $1,200. Are you kidding me? $1,200 to repair it? So I have tried to reach out to Whirlpool on social media, and I didn't hear anything from them for a while. Well, first I called, by the way. First I called in Singapore, and it took weeks before somebody got back to me. So then I started hammering them on social. And what's amazing to me is that neither the store that I bought it from, Harvey Norman, which Harvey Norman, you were a great store. I bought over $24,000 worth of white goods. And if you don't know what white goods are, those are all of the appliances, and then I'll include the electronics in there. But that would be my air conditioning, that would be my washer, that would be my dishwasher, that would be my stove, that would be my range, that would be my hood, that would be my refrigerator, that would be my TV, okay? And the AC units, if I didn't mention that already. Okay, I bought all of that. About 24 grand I spent there, okay? So you would think Harvey Norman would consider me a good customer. Well, Harvey Norman has never ever bothered to reach back out to me on social. So you know what, Harvey? You're gonna get it on social one of these days, because one of these days when I get some more time, I'm gonna dedicate it to you. And the same is true for Whirlpool. One of these days I'm gonna dedicate some time to Whirlpool, who has been obnoxious when they've responded to me on social. And when they've written back to me and they've DM'd back to me on Twitter, they have been completely obnoxious, refusing to help, refusing to do anything. And so the problem is could be a simple fix, but they don't even want to look at the simple fix. They want me to spend the $1,200. Well, since I know how to build PCs, I'm assuming that I could fix the circuit board. So I'm going to actually, when I have some time, which I don't ever have I'm going to take my range out and I'm going to take it apart, and I'm going to first replace the fuse and see if that works. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to start doing some work on that circuit board, because there's no way I am going to give Whirlpool $1,200 to fix something that should not have broken so easily. All I did was flip the power off and put the power back on. That's it. I even had my circuit breaker off. I've got double circuit breaker, by the way. I had both of the circuit breakers off, and I did everything appropriately when I flipped the power back off and on, and that fried the circuit board. All right, so Alice, there's an example of companies that just are not using social well when we come to consumer relations. But there are some companies that do it great. And one company that's been absolutely fantastic has been Samsung. And so let me tell you about the experience with Samsung. And in fact, I might include, so if all of a sudden I disappear, I'll see when I go to edit this video. If I actually throw some video in here, it's what happened with Samsung, okay? All right. So I just want to put that as an aside. So if I disappear and all of a sudden you see something different, that's the reason why. Samsung was great. I also bought that at Harvey Norman, by the way, a year after, or a couple years after. But anyway, I had the monitor, and all of a sudden the monitor was not displaying properly. As you can see, just take a look at what we're looking at right now. As you're looking at the screen, you see this black portion where Twitter is at. Well, my monitor all of a sudden was clear like we are right here, and then there was just a black portion on it over there. So I called up Harvey Norman and they ignored me, and I tweeted out to Harvey Norman and they ignored me, even though it was still under warranty. So okay, that's great. I then tweeted out to Samsung, and Samsung wrote back to me, and Samsung basically said they were a fan of MarketingKitchen TV, and they said that they didn't want me to go without having my monitor, and that they were going to send somebody down to come and take a look at it, because they didn't want to slow down my editing of videos. Yeah, I thought that was nice of them. So they sent 2 technicians down. They went, they took a look at it. They looked at it and they diagnosed what I already knew, which it needed to be replaced. And you know what they did? A week later, they brought me a brand new monitor. And in fact, I'll definitely throw in a picture right now of me with those 2 great guys from Samsung that helped me out. All right, everyone in MarketingKitchen, I want to tell you how wonderful Samsung has been. They have exemplified what I believe to be customer service and customer experience. So thank you very much for replacing my monitor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Okay.
Great. All right, you'll be a star on YouTube now. Okay. All right, thanks a lot. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so there's an example of a brand on social that did a great job. And in fact, Dyson as well. Now, Dyson didn't do so good of a job, but I had a problem with my Dyson vacuum cleaner. I tweeted out about it, and Dyson took care of the problem. They didn't do it for free, however, but they did reduce what would be the normal cost of that. And so isn't that great? That's a good relationship. So what do? I create a video, or I do memes, or I do different things, and then I promote the companies that do good things for me in turn for their good deeds. And so why can't brands and consumers have a great relationship like that? That's how it should be. And I could give you countless examples of brands that have done great jobs and brands that have not. But anyway, hopefully the Whirlpool and the Samsung example are 2 of one bad, one good. And my favorite brand, Apple, we also had a bad experience online with each other. But they eventually resolved it in store. So that was good. But whereas Samsung took care of my problem in weeks, it took months to resolve my issue with Apple, which that's kind of sad, right? Because I'm a major shareholder, a big brand advocate, and yeah, I mean, I live and breathe Apple products. Okay, but your other question is about advertising. So let me touch on the advertising piece quickly. And in fact, one of your peers commented on the video saying that I had talked about the fact I had said that, and I was misquoted, by the way, or misinterpreted, but about organic versus paid content. And I've got to tell you that in the age of digital Darwinism, you have got to pay to promote. You have to have paid content. You've got to, even if it's, so if it's unique, it's original, it's bespoke, it's authentic, it's fantastic. And so this gets to the advertising piece of your question here. You need to create the best content in the market that reflects the needs of the consumer. However, if you just put that on your website, or you just put that on social, if you're not an influencer, if you're not at top of mind at people where they just, if you don't have a massive following, then that content is not going to get noticed at all, no matter how fantastic it is. You've got to pay to promote it. And I've talked in other videos about the example of the, what was that, the pink dress, blue dress? I don't know if you remember that, that whole thing. Well, that video, that meme, went viral, and it was a big deal. But when you get and you strip it back down to a few layers, the only reason that went viral was the fact that the woman who posted that picture, her manager actually sent that to an ad agency, who then sent it to BuzzFeed, and then that's how it became a major story. So there's an example of a fun piece of organic content, and it only went viral because there was paid promotion behind it. So in order for companies to make use or have the most impact with digital advertising on social media is to create certainly consumer-centric, authentic, bespoke, compelling content, regardless of what that content is. But if you don't put money behind it in some form or another, whether that's having an influencer use it, whether that's you paying for ads or sponsored posts or whatever it might be, people are just not going to see it. All right, so that's just the facts there. Anyway, I hope that I helped to answer that question, Alice. All right, our final question for this segment here. And wow, Emily, how many questions did you curate? All right, all right, let's take another one right here, since you say it's such a great question. All right, such a great question. Online shopping is at an all-time high right now due to shoppers not wanting to leave their home. That is true. There needs to be someone responsible for fraud and illegal transactions. Yep, that is also true. All right, so let's take a look at this great question that's here. And again, same person, must have an avatar, must have a wallpaper, and you must have a bio, whether it's actually you or not. Why? It just makes it social. Okay, great. Who should be more responsible for participating in fraud and illegal transactions through online shopping today? The seller or the customer? Hey, that's a great question. Who should cross the road first? Should it be the chicken or should it be the egg? Okay, the answer to this, right, is quite simple. It has to be both. Really, it has to be both. Both the seller and the customer need to be vigilant. It's the same thing with your digital privacy, right? The side issue right now, but people say, who's responsible for your data? So is it Facebook, Twitter, Google? Is it their responsibility or is it yours? I actually say that it's yours, you as the consumer. If you're giving your data to these platforms and you know that they're misusing your data, then what do you need to do? Delete the apps and stop being on social media. If you, and I get it, so going especially to the curation piece of it there, I get the whole aspect of it. So if yes, if you've got no choice but to shop online, then you need to talk about, you need to, as a consumer, you need to think about what payment platform that you're using. So for example, when I do some international, I guess I live internationally, but when I do some transactions that could be a bit sketchy, then I have my credit card through, and I do a credit card payment through PayPal. Why? I have a double layer of protection now, right? There's one way that you do it that's there. And so that's something that you could do. But yeah, we need to hold companies accountable as well too. So for example, if I get screwed online, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out those companies that did not protect me. And that's something you need to do. But government, of course, doesn't protect you either. I mentioned in a prior video my Social Security number was stolen, and somebody applied for unemployment benefits in Texas on my behalf. Wow, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. And what did I have to do? I had to prove to the state of Massachusetts that I was here so that I'm not taxed on that. But that person probably still got away with that money there. We really need to look at having a more secure system across the board. And I mean, look at the election potential of mail-in balloting fraud. Look at the potential fraud with online voting. So anytime we're doing something electronically or through the mail, there's a potential for there to be fraud in that. So who's to blame? Both the user and the seller and the user, right? So I hope I answered the question right there. If not, ask me in the comments below. And let's see, any more? I'm going to take one more question from you, Emily, right here, and then we'll round this out. So we'll do 5 today. How's that? All right, I'm also wondering the same question. I wonder if traditional media will be completely gone. Oh, guess what, Emily? I've answered this question already. Let's see. Yeah, I answered this one. I answered this one, I think, in chapter 4. So anyway, that was a fantastic question. And for those that don't want to go back and look at 4, I basically said that traditional media will not be gone in 10 to 15 years. It'll still be here. We'll still be doing hybrid media. The only way that traditional media will be gone is if all of us are in these bubble, or if all of us are in the matrix. If all of us are shuttered into our homes and we can't ever actually go out anymore. And I don't think that'll happen. All right, so that's great. So that is, that's chapter 5. It's done. We've got one more video coming up, and one more planned video coming up anyway, which would be chapter 6. And then after chapter 6, I'm going to do a lightning round where I'm going to force myself. I'm going to put this my hand to my head, and I'm going to force myself to answer them in under 2 minutes each, and just bang them out in a lightning round. So I'll do that over 2 more videos after chapter 6. Got to do it because I want to make sure I answer all of your questions. And I just want to say, I have this written, it's down in the description of all of these YouTube videos as well too. My intent is never ever to be political. My intent is never ever to be partisan. But a number of the questions that you've asked me here on the feed have been around socioeconomic issues. Because we're talking about marketing and we're talking about management. We're talking about trade, we're talking about commerce. It's very difficult to talk about those issues but not bring in the political ramifications of it, especially if your question begins to lean towards a political aspect of that. And so, and I've stated in the comments, and I want to be completely clear here, my opinion is no more valid than yours, right? It doesn't matter who I am or who you are. I 100% value your opinion, and you can value mine or you can completely discount it. I am not here ever to dissuade you or to change your mind. That is not my intent whatsoever. My intent only is to answer your question, tell you my viewpoint based on my experience, and then you put that against your own. You can then go and do a research, and you can check to see whether I could be completely insane and I could be wrong, or I could be 100% right. And my logic could be completely sound. And it's also possible that your opinion could be 100% correct and my opinion could be 100% correct. That's also possible, because you know why? Things are not black, they're not white, they're not red, they're not blue. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat. They shouldn't be. There are always big gray areas and room for debate. When we have debate, we also have truth. And from that truth, and I can have a little bit of my truth and a little bit about your truth, we can bring them together, we can find something common, and from that commonality, we can take things to the next level. And that's what I want. That's always my goal. All right, thank you very much. I will see you in Chapter 6. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Video 5 or Chapter 5 of 6 for our Fall 2020 session. I look forward to seeing you in our Chapter 6, which should be our final video, though I may record some more. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, there's always fresh content simmering on our storytelling stovetop. So whatever happens in this kitchen shouldn't stay in this marketing kitchen. I'm Ron Vining, your host, reminding you to invite your family and friends to the next episode of Marketing Kitchen TV.